Good afternoon, everybody. Keith Eggle here for TGI Sports Talk's MLB update. How's everybody doing today? Welcome, everybody who's watching on TGI Sports Talk, whether that's Facebook or YouTube. Let's Talk Sports, YouTube. Don't forget to check out all the great content over there. Tanner D doing a great job for DDH. Thumbs up, buddy. Also, of course, Northeast Streaming Sports, where we're on Facebook, YouTube, and live right now on the Roku app for Northeast Streaming Sports. Make sure you get that downloaded. Just 48 pieces of original content, hours of original content, I should say, right now, weekly. Great stuff. You can catch this show every week live at 3 p.m. You can catch my Are You Serious show live at 3 p.m. College Football Huddle that I do live on Wednesdays will be on tomorrow morning, as it is every Saturday at 9 a.m. And of course, the Sunday Stream of Consciousness is Sunday at whatever time it is, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. I'll be joined by my special co-host today, Drew Ehrlich, in just a second. Quick shout out to Ralph Williams from RW Media, specifically his Sports Corner show. He does some great content over there, but the Sports Corner show he does with Smoking Jim Frazier is certainly his top priority, and that's on WBVP 1230 AM and 99.3 FM. And Ralph's got a lot of content on the internet too, so make sure you check all that out. Without further ado, I'll bring in Mr. Drew Ehrlich. We're going to talk some, I don't know, whatever's going on in the world of baseball. We've had some trades. We've had a few things. How are you doing today, Drew?
I am doing great. Thanks for having me on again.
Well, it's always good to have you here. I know you're getting ready to trap. I'll kick you out. See, I've had enough of you already, so I'll just kick you out of the room.
I understand completely.
I'm looking to make sure I stay on top of your mic settings. I'm getting some echo, so I want to try to get rid of that, but not screw you up. Boy, that's terrible. For me, as long as you don't hear it. Well, anyway, whatever. So you're getting ready to travel. When you guys are leaving the country, and hopefully let you back in, I guess.
Hopefully, yeah. From Greece, yeah.
Greece. Hopefully, things stay calm in all the world. I'm glad I don't really go to a sports show, man. It'd be depressing as hell. For me, it's very depressing these days. I don't root for many winners.
Certainly not in our football pick'em.
Oh my God, geez. Gets worse every time. I got a winner last night. I'm 1-0. I think we had to stop the
for the week.
So we've had we talked a little bit about the off season trade possibilities. There's so many different things, and we were just talking about it quickly. It's hard to forecast where free agents will go. I think Ohtani's going to be a linchpin, similar to Counsell and the manager. But we've had some small moves. What do you thought about some of these so far?
Yeah, that's where I thought we would start, is seeing the free agents that have already moved.
The heck out of it.
Yeah, well, the first thing to note is it's almost all on the pitching side. The only position players to have gone so far, based on the most recent list, is one right fielder, which was Hayward re-signing with the Dodgers. And I don't consider it, when someone re-signs with the team they just left as a free agent, that's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't consider that all that important. And then 3 shortstops, minor shortstops. So you got Paul DeJong going to the White Sox. You got Joey Wendell going to the Mets. Woohoo. And you got Garrett Hampson going to KC. That's it for position players. So everyone else is waiting on the Cody Bellingers, the Ohtanis, the Teoscar Hernandezes, to see what's going to happen in those areas.
As a Yankee fan, I waver whether, I like Bellinger. I like Speck. He plays good defense. That's why I don't like Soto. But I'm just afraid I'm going to get the Dodger Bellinger and not this guy who played in Chicago last year.
It's a legitimate concern. I mean, he's shown that he's volatile when it comes to his performance. He wasn't always healthy, so maybe this year is a harbinger of what he could go back to being. But it's that uncertainty that I think that gives GMs pause when they're trying to decide if they're going to sign him or not.
When the thing was Ohtani too, and I've read some articles in it, and it makes sense that Yamamoto, right? The kid who's coming from
Yamamoto.
I knew it was something like that. It's interesting that he wants to play on a team with other Japanese players, as he, at least as the people who speak for him says that. So I'm wondering if, where Ohtani signs, they may not have a leg up on getting him from Japan.
Maybe there are enough players out there that are actually familiar with him, either from playing with him or against him. The Red Sox have one. Certainly the Mets, Senga, knows him well and has been campaigning to have him sign with the Mets. It's a pretty certain thing in most cases that for both the Korean and the Japanese pitchers, they tend to like West Coast teams.
Closer to home.
But they also like to yep. But they also like to be with fellow countrymen. So that's going to play into it. Could Ohtani play into it? Sure. But there's enough other players out there that he's associated with that could try to bring him in that way.
I've said all along, I think Ohtani stays on the West Coast, and I think that most of the places I see, again, everybody thinks he's going to the Dodgers, but I think he's going to San Francisco, and I think Soto's going to up in San Francisco as well. Got to remember, last year they were willing to go all in on Judge, and then they tried Korea. They want to spend money. They've got a new manager. I wouldn't be surprised if they aren't in the running for both of these guys, Soto in a trade market, obviously, and Ohtani.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. They've been trying to blow money for a while now and been unsuccessful. Pitchers are always risky. They're one arm injury away from you wasting all your money. Look at Texas, with DeGrom. And
we're going to talk about a guy in that regard in a second.
But
Ohtani's not going to pitch next year, so we know that. He's going to get his money either way. It really doesn't matter. He's going to get paid. The thing I'm wondering, I just totally lost my train of thought. Ohtani. Check that out. You know what? I will tell you this about Soto. The Yankee fans are all over him. A lot of talk. I hear all kinds of guys that are coming up in trades, and I'm not trading. First of all, they're going to want Dominguez, and they're going to want another top prospect, maybe even Volpe or Pera. I'm not trading any of these guys for him because, number one, he's a rental unless I sign him to big dollars, and number two, I don't think he's a very good defensive player, and I don't need that in a big left field, which is the only place we're going to play in Yankee Stadium. Maybe the Mets are different. I don't think they're going to spend the money, but I don't want them on the Yankees. I just don't.
No, that's always the issue with someone in their walk year. They're a rental unless you can trade for them and pre-agree that you're going to then sign them to some long-term contract. That takes place. That's big bucks, and certainly the Mets are not going to be in it for that. Yankees, who knows? Fielding has not always been their top priority, so they always want the bat.
And again, that's what the problem is. We keep signing the same type players, and we got enough guys who are DH material. We don't need more. So again, and by the way, I just remember what I was going to say, and it's about Ohtani or any of these top free agents. If you want to know where they're not going to sign, make sure you follow John Hyman on Twitter, because he'll report it wrong every time. I don't think every major announcement he made on trades or free agent signings last year, blew up in his face. So,
yep. And that's why it's always, you go on and you're like, okay, let's talk about where Otani's going to show up. Let's talk about where Soto's going to go. Let's talk about where Hader's going to go. And it's like, it's all conjecture at this point.
This guy gets paid. It's not even conjecture. He's got sources saying it's done, contract signed.
I think they do that intentionally just to make him look bad. I think they have an axe to grind and they feed him bad stuff.
He's got a future in weather forecasting, I think, or something. For crying out loud. Want to say a couple good afternoons. Don Play, good to have you with it. I'm sure you're going to ask me for some college football picks. Let's do that in the second half hour. Don's always needling me for college football picks. I should bet the ones I give him. Good afternoon or evening, whatever it is over there in Australia. It's good morning probably in Australia for Ian. Good to have you with us. Ian's looking to hear some great curves of wisdom, and I know I'm echoing. Thank you for that, Ian. It's whatever reason when you get Drew on and there's one problem or another. So no big. And Rick Sherlock is with us here this afternoon as well. So good afternoon, Rick. But you talked about pitchers, and I mean, I was shocked when I read that Aaron Nola signs a 7-year contract for $172 million. When are these guys going to learn to stop signing these guys 30 or north of 30 for long-term guaranteed contracts? I don't get it.
Well, he's 31, so we already know they're probably blowing off the last at least 3 years of that contract.
You got to know that.
Yeah. They just wanted to get in, keep the hometown boy. It's a mistake. You got Sonny Gray, who's 34. He just signed a 3-year deal with St. Louis.
I see that.
Joining other youngsters of Kyle Gibson at 36 and Lance Lynn at 37. So,
Lance Lynn. I laugh. I enjoy watching Lance Lynn pitch because, as I keep saying, I can imagine he looks like me how I would look today in a Major League Baseball uniform. Thank you, Lance, for that. That's weird.
Yep. Obviously, everyone knew St. Louis needed to reconstruct. Is this the way to do it? I don't know. At least 2 of them are on 1-year contracts, so if they are terrible, you're only dealing with it for a year. Sonny Gray is a 3-year. But it's basically they're just looking for someone to eat innings at this point.
I can see giving Sonny Gray 3 years. You gotta sign these guys for a couple of years if you want them to come there. Sonny Gray, the other guys are they're lucky they got their hands out. So Sonny Gray has had a couple of good years heading into this season. So
he is actually the pitching version of Bellinger. He was not great until this year.
Bad with
I take that back. He used to be, and then he wasn't for a long time, and then he had a good year again. So
he was the modern day Eddie Whitson when he was with the Yankees. I can tell you, he was just awful. But that's with the Yankees' track record too. And actually, another interesting free agent signing. Speaking of 1-year make good deals, Severino.
I know where you're going.
Guarantee you. He has a great year next year. Guarantee it.
I doubt that. I don't actually have a problem with it. The Mets are going to go down the same highway that the Cardinals are on. They're looking for 1-year deals. They're looking for stopgaps before they start bringing up all their young guys for the club. Severino, he was terrible. Everyone knows he was terrible. Is he going to be good? My guess is no. But I don't have a problem with that, except I do have a major problem with the price tag. $13 million for someone that was god awful. That's a lot of potential. You're paying for a lot of potential.
Third worst ERA in baseball, I believe, and for a lot of the year it was the worst because he was hovering around 8 for a lot of the year. Oh God, I don't know what these teams think about, but you know what? I should just go out there and try out. I could hell, cut me after 1 year. Give me $10 million. I'll just walk away happily.
Yep. I mean, again, you're signing these guys. You're looking for innings. You're not looking for stars. Is he going to give you innings? I don't know. He's probably going to get hurt again. So, I mean, $13 million is for a guy that didn't want to spend any money because he's already got enough tied up. That just seems stupid to me.
I saw this compared to the Noah Syndergaard's signing with the Dodgers the other day, and I think that's probably a good comparison because that didn't work out very good either. So,
yep.
And by the way, Ian, I may get in uniform for the next update, but you're only going to see me from here up, so it's not going to be that big a deal. So.
True enough,
Joe. What else?
What
is it?
Pitchers. Kenta Maeda signed with Detroit, and again, you'll note, he's 35. You'll note the types of pitchers that are being. If you look at the stratosphere, the Yamamotos and the Otanis, who's not a pitcher as far as I'm concerned right now,
he's not.
They're waiting. Nola was signed, so you got a top end and you got a bottom end, and basically. Ones that don't want to spend big bucks or haven't cleared room on their 40-man rosters yet for these are going after fillers. And so they're trolling on the bottom end of the pool. And that's what you're seeing now with these lower-end pitchers. Everyone was like, well, no one's going to sign anybody until Ohtani. And, well, no, you can. You just go to the other end of the pool and you sign the shallow end until the top breaks. And that's what's going on there, particularly with the starters.
Well, 25 or 6 teams got no shot at them anyway, so what are you waiting for? Right? I mean,
yep.
We know what the market's going to be, really high, so does it really matter how high that is?
Nope, not at all. And on the reliever side, it looks like it's pretty much been 2 teams, Atlanta and Cincinnati.
There's a trade,
go ahead.
I ask you about. I talked about it last week because I find it very odd that the Diamondbacks need a third baseman, but Eugenio Suarez seems to be the antithesis of what they try to do there. He's very low batting average, lots of strikeouts, and he's got some pop. And they put the ball in play, move base runners, at least play some old school baseball, and it seems very odd move.
I agree. They didn't give up a ton for him. He is a good fielder. Suarez is still a good fielder, so they get that. He's pretty much a 3 true outcome guy. He does walk a lot, so he gets on base. But you got to look at the structure of their lineup, and they don't have any real thumpers. Their speed and move guys along, but they don't have anyone that could deliver a knockout blow, really. And that's what this was about, plus improving the fielding. They had a hole. They lost Longoria, so they wanted somebody that they could plug in that keeps the infield tight. And doesn't hurt them too much in other areas. They got enough on base guys. They got enough average guys that they can take the hit on those areas. But they wanted a power bat and they wanted someone that could field.
Well, they got that. They got a lot of strikeouts and a very low batting average.
Yeah. 230 will be his top. Yeah.
I'd love somebody just to care about that one day. Gosh, what else? What else is that? I talked about, and again, I don't want to interrupt you, but there's a couple of questions. I talked about the Hall of Fame ballot last week a little bit. I think that vote's coming up actually the next week, maybe.
Is it that early?
Yeah, I feel like it's early in December. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it's early in December. Any thought? I mean, I see one guy who's got Beltrade's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. The rest
that should be.
I mean, Helton's close. He's probably going to get there. There's 3 guys, I think. Where is that? Where do I have that? I got that here somewhere. there's a bunch of guys that are, once you get to this point, you certainly don't miss. And I'm trying to think who it is. Helton's one of them. I thought there was another guy though. Yeah, I got the wrong. But so there's a couple guys left. So Helton, Billy Wagner got close. Andrew Jones has been moving up. Gary Sheffield, and of course, Alex Rodriguez falls into another category that I'll talk about in a second. Any of those guys that you would vote for and say need to be in? I'm not sold on Helton. A lot of guys love Wagner, but
I love Wagner, and you and I have gone round and round on him on the Sunday show when I sent you all his stats. I think Wagner belongs in, based on other closers that you've had. And he essentially broke the mold of the idea of having a left-handed closer. I mean, no one would give a left-handed pitcher an opportunity until him. And he was good for 10, 12 years. I mean, tops.
Wasn't John?
And his
Franco was better myself.
You thought who?
John Franco's better.
It depends on what stats you want to use. Wagner was much more dominant. Franco was steady.
Yeah.
He wasn't a dominating pitcher. He certainly wasn't a strikeout pitcher, based on some of the guys that are already in there. He was steady and he pitched a lot longer, which was nice. That was always the knock against Wagner. He didn't pitch long enough in the role. But his stats if you look at all of the relievers for that same 10 to 12 year period, he was tops. He belongs in. I don't know about anybody else.
You disagree with me that Beltran's
no, Beltran definitely is a first ballot.
Yeah, without a doubt. The one guy that intrigues me a little bit, and I'd be inclined to say he belongs in because of, I mean, his body of work wasn't as long, at least quality-wise, but Andrew Jones, I think, belongs in the Hall of Fame. When you look at his early part of his career hitting the ball and his defense pretty much throughout his career until late, I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I really do.
It's borderline. I think eventually he's going to make it, and some of it isn't even based on their stats. It's just based on historical voting of how things have progressed in various votes. So I expect Helton to get in. I expect Wagner to get in. I expect Jones eventually to get in. It's not necessarily because they belong there, which isn't to say they don't, but simply because the trends on the voting historically have shown that as these guys keep climbing, they get in.
Yeah, once you reach a certain point, you almost always get in. There's a handful of guys that haven't, but we're becoming a hall of very good, and it's very. I mean, we're keeping out guys that belong in the Hall of Fame because, and again, I understand the steroids. We're keeping out the Bonds and the Clemens and guys that they would have been Hall of Famers without steroids. And I've always said, put them in. Including Pete Rose, Rick. I've had this conversation a bunch of times. Put them in and put on their plaque, warts and all, man. Cheated the game, bet on baseball, bet on his team, whatever you want to put on for Pete Rose. Cheated the game if you're Barry Bonds. But put them in. They're in the Hall of Fame anyway. They're all there. There's on plaques. I don't. It's just, but because you're leaving guys like that out, and I have to watch guys like Harold Baines get in. I mean, and even Gil Hodges. I got ripped for saying Gil Hodges doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. If you're gonna put Gil Hodges in, you better put freaking Mattingly in, and all these Munson in, and all these other guys. And that's nothing against Gil Hodges. He's a good, solid player and a really good manager. But I just don't get it.
Well, the biggest stat that is being used, and you'll love this, of course, is WAR, W-A-R. And that's being used because it gives you the opportunity to compare people from different ages using a combination of not just hitting, or if you're a pitcher, pitching stats, but also fielding stats. Hodges, for example, was an incredible fielder at first base. Hit over 300 home runs, so his hitting was good. His fielding was superb. So, I mean, we got Ozzie Smith in there. Not exactly a batting whiz.
I'm saying they have to be a batting whiz, but I'm saying I'll tell you, I believe a guy like Ozzie Smith had a more positive. And again, you can tell me his WAR because I don't know it and I'll never know it. But I would think Ozzie Smith contributed more to his team's winning than Gil Hodges did.
I'm not sure I'd agree on that. Because he had the fielding and he hit better than Ozzie.
Or Harold Baines.
Harold Baines, I'm kind of on your wagon on that one. And you get people that basically did it by virtue of hanging out for 20 years and doing counting stats and adding them all up. So you get the extremely good, as you say, but they did it for a number of years, so we're rewarding them by putting them in because they have total stats that reflect well.
I'm wrong. January 23rd. Thank you, Mark. Robert Shaw pops in for the Hall of Fame voting announcement. So I'm way ahead. The ballot's got to be in long before that, though, so I'm not sure what that date is. Maybe I was looking at that date.
Yeah, that's actually Sunday. They'll announce, the ballots and who made it. I think maybe at that point they announce who dropped off, didn't get enough votes or something. I'm not sure. But yeah,
the reason I'm going towards Australian rules football is they're much more selective in their Hall of Fame choices, as Ian points out. Thank you, Ian. Gets that in there for us. Did we eliminate WAR? We better have. When WAR comes in, I'm out.
Yeah, we never used WAR. I mean, you use WAR, and then technically that's all you need.
We'll have an hour discussion Sunday about WAR because when any stat that everybody uses their own formula to figure it out, it tells me that it's not really that accurate. So,
well, the concept is
a lot of assumptions, right? Come on,
No, what it does is it tries to take into consideration a myriad of things that are important, but try to cram them all into one statistic. So it takes in fielding, it takes in hitting, it takes in ballparks, that you were in, which, would work against Helton, for example. Mm-hmm. So it's supposed to take into all those things into consideration so that you can now compare apples to apples, is the concept.
Or garbage to garbage. Garbage in, garbage out.
Well, it's all the same stats. It's not garbage in.
Well, but the emphasis on the stats that I think are still important, just because people don't think home runs, RBIs, runs scored. Again, they're in there. I get it, but and how about the eye test? By the way, the eye test never comes into play because all these people figuring out freaking WAR formulas. Half of them have never gone to a baseball game in their lives.
Well, eye test, and that's I mean, again, they're trying to make it so you can compare anybody to anybody is the goal, and I think depending upon how it's used, I think actually WAR is decent. I think what its best thing isn't so much the actual number, so much as how it compares to other people's WAR, as long as you're using the same formula. Yeah. So as long as you're comparing apples to apples, it isn't actually so much what the number is. I mean, you'll see all kinds of articles. Hey, this person had the highest. I don't care. But how does it compare to that same formula working on wars for other players? Because that's where it has its value. And actually, that's what a lot of these GMs are using when they're figuring out how much to offer these free agents is based on their WARs. So, are there statistics you like? My personal favorite, it's in there, is on-base percentage. I love on-base percentage.
I think that's a huge stat in and of itself, as is OPS, only because it puts the slugging and on base percentage together. And I think those are important numbers, definitely. So a lot of the stuff that goes in there, I like. It's just the fact of trying to lump it all together and come out with something that makes sense. Just it doesn't make sense.
Well, they're trying.
It might be because of my simple first education. That might be why.
Okay.
Before we let you go, I want to talk about the contemporary baseball era nominees too, because that's where a lot of these guys end up getting in, the Harold Baines and whatnot. And this year's ballot, who's on here this year? We got Cito Gaston. Cito Gaston has to be in the Hall of Fame. He's got 2 World Series victories. I think he needs to be in. Davey Johnson, Jim Leland, Ed Montague, umpire, Joe West, umpire, Hank Peters, Lou Piniella, and I'm missing somebody here, aren't I? I feel like I'm missing somebody. Here we go. Cito, Hank Peters, I think I said. Oh, Bill White is the other one. What are your thoughts on this? And again, they change the criteria for these things like every other year. So.
Hell, they change the committees every other year. Oh no, we're not going to do this era. We're going to do this era. We're going to put this many players on it. No, we're not going to have any players on it.
This year we won't have any players, right? We're going to have this.
Right. I mean, the managers. Yeah. I mean, I've always been a huge Davey Johnson fan. I mean, the other managers belong in there. I mean, that's the problem is you just get this mindset of, well, we don't want to let too many in at one time. We can always revisit them, blah, blah, blah. Just let them in. I mean, they were great managers. I don't think, the problem with Cito is that he didn't have the track record that, a Fry or a, not a Fry.
Leland.
Yeah, Leland and Johnson did. He didn't manage as long. My
question would be, and this is an important question for me today because I'm going to be on the Mac and Jack debate show tomorrow morning, and one of the debates will be Billy Martin. If you're putting these 4 guys, well, I'll even eliminate Cito because he won 2 World Series. If I'm putting Johnson in, Piniella in, Leland in, how's Billy Martin not in the Hall of Fame?
I don't have a problem with him going on. I mean, obviously he was controversial.
A lot of controversial guys in the Hall of Fame.
But if it's based on results, I mean, how many teams hired him? It wasn't just the Yankees, and it wasn't just the 6 times.
Billy hired every single team around in year 1. Now, I understand his candle burned bright and burned fast and burned out pretty quickly. He turned a lot of teams around, got his favorite team to the World Series, and got them back on the map in '76, and then won 2 in won 1 in '77, and I guess was at least part of '78 in some way or shape or form. But I laugh when I'm nothing against. They're all great managers. I love Lou Piniella, but if they're in, Billy's got to be in.
I don't have a problem with that. I think he should have been in a long time ago.
Absolutely. Anybody else? How about the umpires? I don't know. How do we judge umpires? I guess I put Joe West in because I enjoyed watching Joe West umpire.
I never liked Joe West. He spent half his time baiting the players just so he could have fights. I mean, I was never a West fan.
We're gonna have some entertainment in some of these games in the dog days of August when we're all bored.
All right. Well,
you want to add before you got to run?
Yeah. I do want to mention, keep an eye on Cincinnati. They've got players to trade because they've got so many young guys. The guys are all position players. They've got some young pitchers. It's not a bad staff, provided they could actually pitch to their potential. But they're filling up their bullpen. So they signed Emilio Pagan, and they signed Nick Martinez.
Oh.
And the goal there is Martinez can be a swingman if their starters are not ready or injured or whatever, but otherwise he can be in the bullpen. They're really aware of where their holes are, and they're trying to fill them. and they're filling them quickly. Again, they weren't supposed to contend this year, and I'm not even sure people thought they'd contend next year. But that timeline has moved up, and you're going to see them trade a few guys. You're going to see them sign a few guys. They've been holding off for years for obvious reasons because they stunk. But they've got the core now, and they've got a huge core of young guys. And I think they're going to build around them very quickly and try to contend and knock the Brewers out.
Well, when you and I get a chance to, I agree with all that. And by the time you and I get a chance to do this again, a lot of moves likely will have been made. The winter meetings start Monday, I believe. Interestingly enough, in Nashville, I think it's interesting there in Nashville that who want the Major League Baseball team badly. So I find that interesting. But I think we're going to start to see some balls drop here as we start to get into the middle of December before the holidays. So we may have a lot to talk about when you get back.
Yep. I'll be back. I'll be able to do your show the Friday between Christmas and New Year's.
Cool.
And I imagine we're going to have an awful lot of stuff to catch up on by then.
I would think so. Drew, thanks for coming in. I know you were pressed for time today, so thanks a lot. And enjoy your trip. Be safe and have a, let's see, what can I have? Ouzo. We can have an Ouzo on me.
If I liked licorice, that would be a great thing. But
after dinner, that's all.
Yep, I'll take it. Thanks so much.
All right, bye-bye. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Our top baseball contributor, Mr. Drew Ehrlich, stopped in for a little bit today. We're happy to have him with us. We'll continue our conversations. Just catch up on a couple of things. Rick, you're absolutely right. Controversy never stopped any sport from putting someone in the Hall of Fame. If you emptied the baseball of guys who had questionable behavior or odd personalities, so you'd empty out half the building. So Billy Martin belongs in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, he just does. We talked about this in the past. I've talked about this a lot on my vlogs, especially in the past. Usually when somebody gets in that like Big Papi gets in, but we keep Barry Bonds out, and we keep Clemens out. I'm not in any way, shape, or form condoning what these guys did, but there's no way you can have Hall of Fame without Barry Bonds, without Pete Rose. Tell the story. Here's what they did. Yeah, I still have music playing, by the way. Sounds like I do. Oh, I do. This comes up every few years because Manny. And I didn't get into this with Drew, but it's what started the conversation. Because now A-Rod falls into that conversation. Manny Ramirez is on the ballot. He falls into that conversation. So I think what's happened is, they're either all getting in or they're all staying out, and so far they're all staying out, and they're going to fall off the ballot. Well, they've already fallen off the ballot. Bonds and Clemens have fallen off the ballot. Manny will fall off soon. A-Rod won't last more than the 5 years that he gets. So anyway, it's and yet I gotta have Harold Baines getting in the Hall of Fame. I'm not even sure Fred McGriff, who got in last year with the veteran or the whatever we're calling it, the committee this year, veteran committee, contemporary baseball era. I'm not sure that he belongs. And at Gil Hodges, again, I don't want to besmirch Gil Hodges, but good grief, if Gil Hodges is in the Hall of Fame and look at squeaky clean guy, then sorry, these guys got to be in. They have to be in. Pete Rose especially. And they're, Rick kind of separated them, and they are separate, very separate conversations. Pete Rose, these players cheat themselves and cheat their their fans. They cheat their teams. They don't need it. That's the sad part about it. They didn't need to be doing this. So Very frustrating, right? But you guys are free tomorrow morning, so feel free to if you want to join in. I know I'm going to join the Mac and Jack debate show with Dr. Sem. So it ought to be interesting. Billy Martin, supposedly, I guess this has already come up, this debate. It's the second time, and now Dr. Semendinger is going to get ganged up by me and Jack. I'm going to be on Jack Hirsch's side in this argument. There's also going to be a debate about, I'm not sure, it's been posed to me two different ways. It's involving college football and also whether coaches should be getting paid the enormous amounts of money they're getting paid and then paid to go away. And we'll talk about that. And I'll also, and then I heard it might be about NIL. So not to change the subject because we are talking baseball, but it ought to be an interesting conversation. Keep Jack in check. He's on my side. I'm going to let him go. And I know Dr. Sem believes he won this. I didn't see the previous debate about this topic because I know Mac posed it as for the last time ever. Listen, Billy Martin was his own worst enemy, but Billy Martin players, if you were a Billy guy, you loved playing for Billy Martin. Lou Piniella loved playing for Billy Martin. Thurman Munson loved playing for Billy Martin. Roy White loved playing for Billy Martin. Reggie didn't because, I don't think it's because, there's a lot of people think Billy was a racist. I don't think Billy was a racist. I think Billy thought the game should be played a certain way, and if you didn't play it the way he thought you should play it, he didn't like you. That was that was an interesting era in Major League Baseball and the Yankee lore as well. Obviously, having lived through it, 1978 is still my favorite year in baseball, and it will be probably forever. Boxers and soccer players should stay there. Who's the soccer player? Oh, soccer. I know who the soccer player is. I forgot who it was for a second. I'm not sure he played soccer either, Rick. I know he follows it. Problem is, what we know about soccer, he could be totally off his rocker and we wouldn't know it. Now, Jack knows sports pretty good, and I like Jack. Jack's good. Jack's really good for these podcasts because Jack will speak his mind. So would myself. I mean, I don't mind getting into it with people. Drew loves war. I think it's a stupid stat. I'm not going to go too much into it here because he's gone. We'll go into it one day. I don't want him not to be able to defend himself. But, he said it himself. Different people use different formulas. There's only one way to compute batting average. There's only one way to compute on-base percentage. There's only one way to compute slugging percentage and home runs and RBIs. Those are real numbers. When you're giving me made-up math, and I'll change the formula to suit what I want it to be, then I have a hard time saying that's an important number. And it makes a lot of assumptions. So anyway, we'll have fun tomorrow with Jack. It'll be a lot of fun. And I get into it, and Rick too. There's a lot of times I disagree with you, but that's the way we should be. I know you like Jack. You like the bus Jack. I like the bus Jack. I have a lot of fun busting Jack. And we got into it this morning. I remember now I think more with Mac. I got into it more with Mac than I did with Jack. And now I don't remember what the heck we were talking about. The hell was it? Oh, I'm not going to get into it today because it's a college football thing. Yeah. So anyway, let's go. What else? What else we got? I'm looking at the wrong computer because I don't have my second computer available to me today. So I'm kind of roughing it. So bear with me. Let's see what else is going on in the world of baseball. That's who cares. Nobody cares. The Pirates did hire Astros Sarah Gellis as the assistant GM. So maybe we'll get a second female GM after the Marlins GM quit this year or was fired, depending on how you look at it. She only did a great job. First female umpire ever. Oakland will keep baseball as a Pioneer League is going to move into Oakland and I think the Oakland Coliseum. And the question is going to be, is anybody going to notice the difference in the baseball? Because they've had pretty much a Pioneer League team there the last couple of years. So that will be interesting. Oh, the A's are just going to light up Vegas, aren't they? Nelson Cruz joins the Dodgers as an advisor. That's kind of interesting. The Hall of Fame, we were talking about the Hall of Fame before. Andre Dawson, for reasons I believe known only to himself, wants to switch the cap that he has on his Hall of Fame plaque from Montreal to the Cubs. Now, he was great in both places. He won an MVP with Chicago. But I think more people identify with Montreal and Andre Dawson than they do Chicago. I think that's a pretty simple statement of fact. And as you know, the Hall of Fame took the choice of what cap you wear into the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago when Wade Boggs, I believe it was Wade Boggs, totally bastardized the process by selling the rights to his Hall of Fame cap selection to the former Devil Rays. I think they were the Devil Rays when he played there. And he got his 3,000th hit there, and he played there for about 10 minutes. Wade Boggs has got to go in as a Red Sox, no? Now, several players have gone in without somebody on their hat. Catfish Hunter, I think, might have been the first to do this. Certainly more known with the A's. Had some good years with the Yankees and certainly is a big part of their history because of winning back-to-back. Well, first of all, he won a huge amount of games his first couple of years, and then his arm troubles hurt, but he was part of back-to-back winners when New York was restored. The winning tradition was restored to the Yankees. But I'm sure he didn't want to go in with an Oakland A on his hat because of his relationship with Charlie Finley. And the A's in general. So, again, to me, that really hurts the fans and whatnot. But I don't know. Right now, MLB tells you what you're going to wear in. And if you don't, they may give you a choice of you have this or nothing. But again, it started to become a problem with guys like Wade Boggs was probably the linchpin. Again, even if he said he wanted to go in as a Yankee, that'd be better than a Tampa Bay Ray. What's wrong with these guys? Oh, man. I'm still looking in the wrong place for news. Let's see what else is going on that Drew didn't get to. I want to talk to you again about Ohtani. Ohtani's not coming to the East Coast. Ohtani's going to stay on the West Coast. To me, it's Seattle, it's the Giants, or the Dodgers. Now, and I believe, who else did they put in there? Somebody else puts in a couple of names. The Cubs, the Blue Jays recently have come up. I don't remember the Blue Jays ever signing a free agent the stature of Ohtani. And I think it's probably because players don't want to go there, because if you sign there for, $600 million or whatever crazy number he's going to get, your money's not worth nearly as much when you're getting paid in Canadian dollars. So that's one of the reasons that's not going to happen most likely. And I think the Dodgers, they freed up about $160 million off of next year's payroll. But I just have this sense that he's going to go either to Seattle, and I strongly believe it's going to be the Giants. And I think the Giants are going to get Ohtani and Soto. They've been looking to go big for the last couple of years, haven't been able to do it. So they put together these teams that are flawed. But I do think that they have as good a shot with these guys as anybody, and that may give them a shot at Yamamoto if they've got the money to spend. Be an interesting situation. Soto, if I'm the Yankees, look, the Yankees shouldn't be interested in either one of these guys. First, Ohtani's not. He doesn't have a position, so where's he going to play with the Yankees? You're stuck with Stanton. So that really blocks me from saying they can go after Ohtani. They can't go after Soto because Soto is not a good fielder, and he's going to hurt the Yankees. It's a huge left field in Yankee Stadium. Only place he can play. Bellinger would be a fit, but I worry about his, those 2 years in L.A. I don't know what was going on with him, but I worry about that. Dylan Cease may come onto the trade market. Yankees will be interested there. Please, again, don't be giving up your top prospects for these pitchers that will not perform in New York. And maybe it's just because of injuries or whatnot. Jack Hurst, another thing that he always poo-poos when I bring it up. And Mac, I think, agrees with me on this one. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, Rick. Good to have you with us. I'll be happy to stir things up as much as I can. Jack always poo-poos this idea that it's different playing in New York than it is playing anywhere else. It's not. It's a proven fact that guys come here and they can't play here because they play great somewhere else. They come here and they stink. They go out somewhere else and play, and they play well. Ed Whitson. Look at Ed Whitson's career. It's pretty good before he gets there. It stinks while he's here, and it's pretty good after he leaves. Aaron Hicks is a guy that Jack always liked to throw in my face because he had a decent year. Well, he had a decent 6 weeks in Baltimore. Doesn't erase the fact that he can't play in New York. He had 6 years to do it. Had one decent year and made a big contract off of it. It's not an easy place to play. And we saw it last year with Rondon. I said when they signed him, horrible, horrible, horrible mistake. I'd love to have a pitcher like Tyler Glasnow on this team, but I'm worried about his arm history. Young guy, one of the best pitchers in baseball when he's healthy. I don't know. I think it's going to be an interesting week at the meetings next week. It's going to be, will Ohtani sign while he's there? That will break the logjam. You will see trades start after that. You will see, because it's not just, remember, it's not just the Drew and I were talking about it, and we basically talked about the teams were waiting, but the players are waiting too. If I'm a level below Ohtani, it doesn't mean his signing has no effect on me, because the more he gets, it's a trickle-down effect, guys. So hopefully, this time next week we could have we won't have a show next week. That's the other piece of news I needed to drop with you guys. Next week there'll be I'm traveling for work Monday through Friday. I won't get home until about 9:30 Friday, 10 o'clock, 10:30 Friday night. So there'll be no Are You Serious next week. There'll be no Major League Baseball update next week. The college football huddle will not happen Wednesday night, but it will happen at 9 o'clock Saturday morning live on all not just on Roku. It'll be live on all the outlets. It's usually on YouTube, Facebook, and whatever. And we'll review all the action from this past week, which we covered on Wednesday night, and we'll talk about more on Sunday. So join us with this for the Sunday Stream of Consciousness this week, and join us next week as we return to the airways next Saturday morning. It's been good. I want to thank Drew for joining me today, and Ian and Rick, Mark Robertshaw jumping in with good information on all things. guys, you have a great weekend. Enjoy the college football, enjoy the pro football, and we'll see you next week. Tuesday Sports Talk MLB